We got some breaking news, of course, about Attorney General candidate Matt Gaetz withdrawing his name from consideration. He's a Florida congressman. He's well liked by MAGA. He has a questionable history, one that involves an ethics investigation from the House Ethics Committee. Then that committee report was set to be released sometime soon. A number of Republicans, including, as you would imagine, lots of Democrats, were hoping to see that report released. Republicans wanted to see it as well as far as the Senate confirmation process goes, but he has decided to withdraw his name. Tim, I know that we can't help but mention the name Kevin McCarthy when we think about this particular situation. You've known the former speaker for a long time. What do you think his thoughts are today, and what are your thoughts on this withdrawal of the nomination and withdrawal of the consideration?
Well, I think to anybody who's really been watching what's been going on in Washington, D.C. over the past several years with Matt Gaetz and former Speaker McCarthy and others really, and Gaetz's personal issues that he's got, I don't think this is a surprise. I think it was more of a surprise he was nominated, but certainly the motivations of that nomination. He did resign from Congress. I don't think there was ever any question that he was going to get through Senate confirmation. Who knows? This could have been kind of like a 4D chess move from incoming President Trump to just take one of those pieces off the chessboard, pretty efficiently. But today's news is certainly not surprising, given everything that we know about what Mr. Gaetz is facing on the ethics side.
Yeah, is this the 4D chess move, do you think, Professor? Because I know that there's a lot of people who have that conspiracy, and I can see it too. I mean, I think that there's the possibility that he's trying to get him out of the House. That makes it easier for Speaker Johnson to do his job. Maybe not so much as just to remove him, but I think it makes sense to remove what has been the largest thorn in the side for House Republicans out of the House majority.
Uh, so I'm going to say no. I think that ascribes a certain level of strategic thinking that I have not seen any evidence for. Um, President Trump is much more reactive, much more in the moment, makes decisions on the fly based on how he's feeling at that point, based on what people are saying about him at that point. And all indications are that the choice to nominate Representative Gaetz was a spur of the moment thing that happened on a 2-hour flight. There was no planning that went into it, really, other than Gaetz has been a strong defender of Trump in the past. And so I think it was a spur of the moment decision that lots of people expressed their displeasure over, and enough people in the Senate went on the record saying they were never going to vote for him. Enough Republicans went on the record saying they were never going to vote for him, that there was no point in continuing the nomination.
To follow up on that, I know one of the things that will be readjusted for in a Trump administration that we were not in the Biden administration will be just the rapid pace of news and, kind of like you're saying, those reactive thoughts and how quick he can move from one nominee to the next and do, these nominees punches and bunches kind of things with just a news blast versus the Biden administration, who it was a pain for them to talk about anything that they didn't want to talk about. This is a little bit of the opposite. Do you feel like that we'll see an attorney general nominee come up pretty soon, or there'll just be some other news that happens just with the rapid pace that we see from the Trump administration, Professor?
I think that to your point, I think we're entering a period where it's going to be hard to predict what the next news cycle is going to be about. At least as far as it pertains to President Trump, right? We might see a quick nomination, or it might be a protracted nomination, as with Treasury right now, where we don't really know who the nominee is going to be. I don't know. And we all, the media in particular, are going to have to adjust back to kind of Trump time, which is just constantly watching social media to see what decision has been made and then kind of following up on it. But it's a different way of thinking about the presidency, thinking about government.
And Tim, your thoughts on this too, before I switch it to kind of a more local thought about this.
Well, I think it affords Susie Wiles, who has a long history in working for Jack Kemp and Mitt Romney and some others, affords her some opportunity, I think, to get her hands into this nomination for Attorney General. Certainly, she's somebody who's pretty well respected around DC, and that Attorney General nomination and the next Attorney General of the United States, I mean, is a very important post and key for this administration. And so I think that they will appreciate, at least the staff he's appointed so far, and maybe some of the others, around him, the opportunity to be more involved in that. And as the professor said, it looks like what had come about in kind of a rapid fashion on a 2-hour flight without a lot of people's input that would have liked to have input. Now maybe they can go back to square one and start this vetting process a little bit more thoroughly for Attorney General.
And now focusing this back here, I mean, one of the things that a lot of us have been paying attention to, of course, in the past year was Kevin McCarthy and his ouster from Congress, which was very much spearheaded by Matt Gaetz. We go back even in time to the original nomination process of Speaker, which took 15 rounds to confirm Kevin McCarthy. The biggest detractor was always Matt Gaetz. What is his impact on the Central Valley politics and on leadership in Washington and our representation in Washington from the great state of Florida, from a place 3 time zones away? Tim, your thoughts on that?
You're talking about Representative Gaetz?
Yeah, just his what he's thrown the California through and the Central Valley through in the past year.
Well, yeah, I mean, certainly we've had some big upheaval, given Speaker McCarthy would probably still be Speaker of the House, and you would have him still as a member of Congress if Representative Gaetz did not kind of do what he did during that time when Speaker McCarthy was ousted. And so that certainly had a very defining moment in terms of politics in the Central Valley. Someone who had been a key political figure in the Central Valley for many, many years, going back to his days as a staffer to Bill Thomas, a longtime serving Central Valley congressman. And so, it has been profound. Now moving forward, obviously, we do have Congressman Vince Fong. Looks like David Valadao is going to be reelected, and you do have a strong Central Valley contingent. But it certainly Representative Gaetz has had his fingerprints on kind of what has happened politically in the Valley over the last few years.
I would go a little bit further. I mean, just the fact that there's an open assembly district because Vince Fong moved into McCarthy's seat, right? That's a consequence of Gaetz's machinations inside the House for that area.
Yep.
Right, and that's what I think when we're thinking about this as well. It really does have the trickle down effect, and we can also blame perhaps the leadership in California for not wanting to fill that seat as fast as it could possibly be filled too. But that's a good point too. I mean, that's what we have less representation in the assembly, and we'll continue to have such until it could probably be as soon or as late as March of 2025, if not a little bit later here as well. Professor, what kind of role do you think that that McCarthy now has is kind of this behind the scenes kingpin, I guess, versus maybe before where he was very much everyone knew that he was the fundraiser out in front of things. Does this Gaetz withdrawal give him any extra power from this, that it kind of sees like his side of whatever wing of the Republican Party as far as the House goes maybe gets a little bit more emboldened by this withdrawal?
Well, I don't know how emboldened, I don't know how successful, I don't know how influential the former speaker will be going forward, because Trump is the center of the Republican universe, and McCarthy tried to fund, to support primary challengers, and they did not do particularly well. He tried to be in the background and didn't get a lot of success in this last election cycle. He's still important to the Republican Party. He's still a fantastic fundraiser for the Republican Party and for Republicans. But if you go up against Trump within the Republican Party, you're probably going to lose. And so it's a question of how much he can align with the Trumpist forces in the Republican Party, or how much he's going to be kind of ignored because he's not in alignment.
And I think the last thing to mention here, as far as Gaetz's future is concerned, is I don't think necessarily he's done in the House of Representatives. He's obviously withdrawn from this from his current term, but he has one election to what would be his next term, right? I mean, he could. I mean, it's essentially what, a 3 month vacation for him, or a 2 month vacation.
So it's interesting because in his resignation letter, he said that he did not intend to serve in the next Congress. And so it's a question of, is that a statement of legal intent that he will not accept it? Or was that because he was expecting to be confirmed and therefore wouldn't be seated? I'm sure that in Florida right now, there are lawyers that are getting ready to argue both ways what that phrase meant in his resignation letter as to whether or not he can be sworn in, or whether or not he really did forego the opportunity to be sworn in. So, yet another legal fight that we're going to see probably over whether or not he gets to be in the House next term. And I don't know, given all of the controversy, given the report that's out there, I don't know how much he wants to be in the House at this point, and what kind of damage he might do to his future career, whatever that might be, if he is, and then more information comes out about him. I don't know.
And Tim, last question to you. Is this a good day in the long run for what the Trump administration could be and what it plans to be? Or is this still something that I know a lot of media outlets are going to be jumping on him today, and they're going to be focused on that. But it's not all bad news in the long run, especially given the fact that you would imagine someone like that in his past personal history could be error and gaffe prone in a way that could possibly be detrimental to that administration.
No, I mean, I think the quicker that the Republican Party and the administration can get as far away from Matt Gaetz as possible, I think that is a good thing. And so today is a good day from that standpoint. I think Mr. Gaetz has some serious trouble coming up that he will be facing. And moving forward, I think that it is probably have a lot of people privately, members of the House, members of the Senate, who are very thankful that Mr. Gaetz has withdrawn his nomination. And I think also within the Trump administration, folks who are breathing a sigh of relief about that withdrawal from the nomination. So overall, it'll be a couple days of news, certainly. Anytime there's kind of salacious details about things and potential criminal details about things, that's going to make the news. But at some point, they're going to move on to who the next nominee for this very important spot within the administration will be.
All right. Thank you both so much. Appreciate your time on such short notice. We're getting it in for our 12 o'clock broadcast. Of course, this will air on YouTube and, of course, on our website much after that has passed. But just want to let our viewers know. Thank you both so much for jumping on such short notice and getting this interview in.
Thank you
for reaching out.